Hey, what's up? I'm Guy.
I'm John.
It's our YouTube channel. Subscribe to it. Give this video a like.
Podcast below in the description as well. Check it out.
This video brought to you by our friends at wineaccess.com/hammer. You get 20% off.
Yep, 20% off. Wineaccess.com/ham. Use it today, people.
Phil Mickelson, oldest major winner ever. He beat old man Tom Morris, who was 48 years old in the books and 150 years old in the photo. Pretty incredible.
Was old. Yeah. I thought today was pretty incredible. I mean, I thought going in, I assumed he was going to lose. I think most people I text like, what do you think? And most people are like, I don't feel great about it.
I told you that on Saturday. Just 4 days, can he maintain? I didn't think so.
Yeah, and it's just the way he'd been playing. You're just like, he can't truly keep this up. And then yesterday, the way he came down leaking oil at the end on Saturday. But I know this. The thing I admire the most about any successful person is the older you get and the more you accomplish in certain industries, you end up making a lot of money. And obviously Phil, like Tiger's an iconic figure and is much bigger than Phil. But economically, I think Phil's a little bit closer than most people realize. Do you remember that visual thing that, like, back when Twitter was really humming, like 2015, they used to like tweet out this thing of like the highest earning athletes over the last like 40 years, and it'd be like moving graphs. And for a long period of time, like once Tiger really fucking hit the ground in like late 90s, he was the top guy for like 15 straight years. Phil Sneaky was like a top 5 guy that whole time, and there were several years where he was like 60 to, if Tiger was like 100 to 110 million dollars a year, Phil was racking up like 60 to 70. He drafted up Tiger and made so much money. And then he finally won a lot, right? And like once he finally won his Masters, then he won a couple more Masters, then he won a British, then he won a PGA. I mean, the order's a little off, but he won a bunch of majors. He accomplished it all. It was set. Like Phil was an all-time great. He had the majors to back it up. The only thing he was missing was the U.S. Open, but it was like one of those where it doesn't even matter at this point in time. He was so accomplished. And then his game started getting squirrely because he's old. And he's so rich, most human beings be like, what am I doing this for, man? Like, and no one would hold it against him if Phil just pulled the pedal off the metal. The only experience I have this with a guy with a lot of money, and I haven't been around him in over, 7 years, but people I know with the Chiefs, every time I see them at the combine, they're like, it is amazing to watch Andy work still. And the thing that I admire most about human beings at the highest level, whatever they do, is like when Andy got into coaching or Belichick or any of these, like Phil, they didn't get into this for the money. Like when Phil got into golf in the late 80s, I mean, Nance is rattling off that he won the Pac-10 championship in 1990. It might have been even the Pac-8 then, but maybe it was the Pac-10 in 90.
I think.
The money in golf, now, if you were a great golfer, there was money, but it was nowhere near what it became. And Phil still clearly grinds at his given profession. I think Brady's a lot like this, where it's like they ain't doing it for the money or even the prestige. It's like deep down, it's for the juice of competing. It's truly what gets them off. Now, obviously, I can't imagine what it's like to get $50 million direct deposits. Maybe they don't get that big, but 10 or whatever, just throughout the year, just become super rich. And Phil's so rich where probably most things in his life, I mean, basically are free, right? He has that much money. Like there's nothing, like he can't buy an island or something, but he's worth hundreds. Yeah, the right island for sure. To keep working like that at his age is beyond admirable. I mean, I think it's incredible. And it's truly like he's an all-time great sportsman, I think, when you factor in just he won at 50. I mean, basically 51. He turns, what they say, another month, and he turns 51.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about, like, we've had this conversation a lot with Brady over the years, right? Now, Brady is a little younger, but Brady plays from a physical standpoint, a much more dangerous, taxing sport. Julio Franco was like 48. Jamie Moyer was old. Frank Gore's like 37, 38, but running back age, that might as well be 44, 45 years old, right?
Wasn't Nolan Ryan a guy that played into his early 40s?
Nolan Ryan was old. I always thought, to me, one of the most impressive older guys was Vince Carter, who came into the league in like 99 and played till 2000 and like adjusted his game, right, as his career went on. But
he didn't maintain greatness, though. right?
Also, no, he didn't. No, he averaged like 5 points a game the last 5 years of his career, but still, he was in his 40s. I mean, he was still an effective player. But to win an individual sport, like that's what's different about golf, is you can't, be past your prime physically, like Manning, but have a defense that's great and still win a championship. Not that it's a team sport. Manning deserved that championship. But there's none of that. There's no, well, Saturday my other guy carried me and then I bounced back after I rested. There's no, I guess you can take tournaments off, right? If we're going to use a comparison for like NBA players or baseball players taking extra days off. But in terms of the actual tournament, there's no time off that you can take. And then the other thing, it's funny, I was watching this video because you got some of those. Turns out it's Melon, not Milan. I didn't know that. I thought it was Milan. Those hats that Phil wears.
I didn't know.
I just watched a video on their website of Phil, and one thing Phil said is that I don't know anything really about the disease that he has. Maybe somebody can tell me that he developed psoriasis, and so with that came arthritis, psoriatic arthritis or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But he said, like, I don't know, it's because of how he lived. Maybe he didn't take care of himself. That's kind of what he intimated. And he said because of that, he really had to change his lifestyle. And that is the initial thing that got him working back out and trying to get himself in shape and really taking care of himself. And he says now one of the things he said, this video was a couple years old, but like he feels better when he wakes up now than he did when he was in his 30s. And like that's the element of athletics that's so different than other areas of business, let's say, where you get really rich, but you still nose to the grindstone for your restaurant group or for your financial advisory firm or for your waste management company when you're 60. Like there is a physical element at 50 years old that he has to keep up with Brooks Koepka that most people in their environment, even if they're making money doing whatever it is they do into their, past their physical prime, it doesn't really factor in if you're sitting at a desk, right, for the most part. For Phil, that's like the desire is one thing to compete. You still also have the desire to have the desire to work so that you can compete. Like getting out and playing the games is the fun part. How about getting yourself in shape so that you can compete? The lonely work, John. Like that's the part to me I'm with you. That's what I was thinking about. It's like all the work that guy's put in just so his body can do the things that he naturally has always been able to do.
Yeah, mate. We talked a little bit earlier before we jumped on here about, the Tiger moment. You were at Eastlake when he got his first win that eventually kind of led to this run that he went on of playing really good golf. And he ended up winning the Masters, right, the following spring. Like that Eastlake was in 18, and then he won the Masters in 19. And he had already just competed in the British Open. Like he'd had a lot of momentum. Like Tiger was kind of back. But that validated like that moment of everyone following him down the course. You just Google Tiger Woods. It's like an iconic photo. But he had been playing really well. And I bet if we just morph back or when you went there, you were on the grounds. Wasn't there a buzz like Tiger's playing well? Like
But the buzz didn't pick up until like day 2, day 3.
I want to win the tournament, but it wasn't like Tiger was just shouldn't have been there.
No,
right?
I mean, because that was,
you got to be in the top 30
golfers.
just to be there. Yeah. Like Phil, guy was 200-1 to win this tournament. 200-1. And like that's for guys, I mean, that is obscene. Like he was never going to win another major. He was never going to win another PGA tournament. Like it was kind of over. It felt like he's just going to go to the senior tour. I thought today was just that moment of him coming down was kind of his Tiger moment. It sucks a little bit that Tiger wasn't there because really, I was thinking this on my couch today. I always say that the reason the NFL, and there are a lot of different variables on this one, but I think Magic and Bird, what they did for the NBA and how basically David Stern got Michael and parlayed them into just what became the juggernaut. I think Manning and Brady helped Roger and the owners lead into this, just the success and the rivalry that those two had in the 2000s led to the just explosion in the 10s, to Rodgers, to Mahomes, to Russell, to all these other guys, and just the popularity of the league. Tiger by himself was enough to carry anything, right? Yeah. Tiger didn't need a Larry or a Peyton, but like him and Phil are kind of synonymous with each other, even though Tiger clearly is the, superior one. And it just felt like Phil will never be Tiger, but he did kind of like that had to be pretty unreal for him walking down and having that moment. It felt very Tiger-like. Like that would have happened maybe Jordan Spieth this week, maybe, but it wouldn't have felt the same. I don't think.
I was
Because it
telling
felt
you
like a career accomplishment award, but it's not a career accomplishment. He earned it, right? He went out and beat. I think here's how I would say it. 19 is the most. I saw Trey Wingo had a good tweet. He said 86 was the most magical major ever. Jack winning it in his mid 40s at the Masters. Tiger 19 was the most emotional. This was the most impressive. I do think this was more in a pure golf. I think I texted you this. In a pure golf, it was more impressive than what Tiger did in 19. When you just factor in, he was playing well. That's basically like his home course. This one like was just carnage all over the place. He won it at -6. I mean, it was the field.
And what did he start the day at? -7?
Yeah. So he shot one. Yeah. I mean, it was just holding on for dear life. The course, this course is just harder than Augusta, right? When you factor in the wind.
The wind and just the lack. You're not as familiar with it.
They played it twice in his career.
Yeah. Yeah. No, by the way, Dan on YouTube says, one of my employees has psoriasis and rheumatoid arthritis. If they're not on the right meds, very painful. As far as profession, he's an automotive technician, so it's very physically demanding. Just to give you an idea with Phil. I mean, these are things that in most sports you're not 50 playing, so you're not dealing with.
Have you ever been around anyone with arthritis?
My grandmother had it in her hands. Yeah.
Yeah, I was around someone, my dad's boss, growing up, and it would cripple him. In his knees and his hands, and at one time I touched it, I remember, and this was a 6'5", enormous man, college baseball player, went down to the ground, was in so much pain. I tried to shake his hand, I wasn't,
you didn't know.
I mean, I knew, but it was I was dumb.
Yeah,
just a bad. We weren't on the same page, and it was bad.
I start thinking about like LeBron too, right? LeBron's what 37, 30 will be 38, I think. Right now, it doesn't look like he's got any sign of slowing down. So, I mean, he's another guy that maybe in 5. But again, you don't go to 50. 50?
Yeah.
You don't go to 50.
Golf's unique that way. You can play older.
There's no doubt. I'm not saying it's the same as anything. You're right. I mean, it was just absolutely. And then what I was going to say, though, I told you this before we started the pod, is like I did feel like there were probably points in time in Phil's career where he looked at Tiger and thought, that's supposed to be me. Like, I'm the phenom. I'm the guy who has all the skill that nobody else has, that can pull off all the shots, that should be the best player in the world for years at a time. And I would imagine at times it probably was difficult for him, especially before he won a major. Then he won a major, but then Tiger had his comeback, and I would imagine Phil has I agree with you, some significant just career satisfaction. Would he like to have double the major number? Absolutely. But if you told me Phil would not trade his career, that wouldn't surprise me either. I think he's got to be able to do that. He even said, like, I just kept working. I had the confidence even when there was really no evidence that I should still have the confidence.
But that gets back to what I'm saying. I always think about this for myself, and you never want to put the cart before the horse. Because, I mean, I'll never have as much money as Phil, more than likely. I mean, he's got hundreds of millions of dollars. But if you got to the point where the equivalent of your age, you're like, why would Phil keep working that hard? Like most humans, even pro golfers or whatever you're doing, insurance owner, whatever company you had, you would dial it back. Like to me, he's a 1%er of the 1%.
Yeah.
Like for him to just keep on grind, for who, for what? Like what is Tom still grinding? Like why will Tiger attempt to make a comeback? They are wired unlike even their own competitors.
They really
that's where
are.
I think back to Phil. I think we'll probably just ate at him at certain points of his career. He goes, this guy's a little bit better than me, but I'm dramatically better than everyone else. Like, this is crazy.
You know, it is what made that 2-on-2 tournament between Phil and Tom and Peyton and Tiger so cool. Like, they weren't just star athletes playing the sport they're not good at with Tiger and Phil. Like, they were they're guys cut from the same cloth, right?
It's incredible.
Peyton's coming back from neck surgery to play quarterback. It's like, why, right? Tiger keeps coming back for more. Phil this. Brady.
Honestly,
Pretty
it was
special.
perfect. Don't you think the match, like pairing those two, like Tom with Phil and Peyton with Tiger, even though Tiger's more like Brady
And Peyton's
accomplishments,
more
but he's
like-
really wired more like Peyton in
sure.
terms of personality.
That's probably why they mixed them. Is because Peyton's a little more light, just like Phil.
Yeah.
Tom and Tiger probably more similar
Yeah.
to one another.